All right, what's going on, guys? What is going on? Good to see you. Bitcoin starting to take a little bit of a downturn, rejecting off of the 30-day. As you can see, we hit it twice yesterday and today, rejected off of it both times. We're back at 91,100 and dropping. How far will we go? Will we retest support at 87,257? Possibly. Tell you what, I'm going to keep buying my Bitcoin and my stable coins in the meantime. We got to break above this 30-day moving average if we want to fill the CME gap at 96K. So far, we have not been able to do that. Maybe we're back testing 90,000 as supports. That would be fine, right? That would be fine. But to stay bullish, we're going to need to continue to hold $90,000 as support, in my opinion. So, all right, we got just the one super chat. Crypto Perpetrator. Hello, Rob. Was there a signal on HiveMapper I missed? No, but they have been doing a lot of. They just had a new partnership announcement, and they are doing a lot of AMAs and stuff like that. They just did a partnership stream the other day, day before yesterday, with like 8 people that I need to have a look at. And they also have another one coming up, an X Spaces next Monday, where they're talking all things HiveMapper. So they do have some stuff going on, quite a bit actually. So a lot of bullishness. All right, let's get into the chat. What do we got going on out there today? Derek, what's up, man? What other long holds are you keeping other than Bitcoin, XRP, and Solana? I don't reveal that stuff on YouTube. I only reveal that to the private community over on the Patreon. Quentin, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you, my guy, my dude. I am Jasmine. We're all Jasmine. Love you too, man. Love you too. What the push-up count look like? 50. It's always 50. You know me. Hey, Rob, when the head and shoulders pattern on Bitcoin dominance plays out, will it be a blow-off top for alts? I mean, in theory, but I can't guarantee it, right? You know me says, hit the like and subscribe. Absolutely, guys. Make sure you're hitting the like and subscribing on your way in. We got 222 people watching. We have 32 likes. Guys, that is abysmal. We can do better. We can get to 100. Let's go. Adam, what's up, buddy? Every time I try to leverage trade, I get interrupted by calls from someone named Margin. Damn that guy, right? Damn that guy. Bruno, what's happening, man? Yo, yo, what's going on? Crypto J505, what's going on? Gengar is in the house. Strange Sky, what's happening? Thanks for all your help, Rob. Hey, no problem. Thank you for always being here. Jake the Snake says, let's rip or dip Bitcoin. No half measures, please. Yes, a lot of people think that the dip is the hard part. The hard part is when you just kind of trend sideways in a range for what feels like forever. But what I would say on Bitcoin right now, as long as we continue to close above right now, for now, 86,241. If we continue to close daily candles higher than that, well, then we're continuing to put in higher highs, right? So that's what you want to see. Higher lows, sorry. And then, of course, on this side, what are we doing? We are putting in higher highs on Bitcoin as well. So we do have higher highs and higher lows going on Bitcoin, which is bullish for now. We're starting an uptrend. So we need to continue that by continuing to close candles above that, what was it? 84,675. But I'd like to stay above 90,000 at this point. And then also what we need to do in the next few days is we need to start putting in higher highs than 93,485, which we did right here. We got to put in a higher high than that and continue the uptrend. So we don't want to now start putting in lower highs, right? Otherwise, then we're just ranging. Danny, what's happened to my guide? There she is, the one and only Gamma Goddess. She says, hope everyone's doing well. Let's get this money, fam. William, what's happening, buddy? Kizza, what's happening, my dude? Good to see you. In the hizzy, Juicy Jasmine, let's go. No problem, no problem. Critical update sounds nerve-wracking. Is it good or bad? It's a little from column A, a little from column B. We are caught up in the chat already, guys. That's crazy. 220 people watching, and we're already caught up in the chat. Ty, good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Chat's kind of quiet today, so I guess we're just going to hop into the news. We're at 45 likes, guys. Let's get it up to that 100 like level. Okay, what's going on across? Let's go over to X first and see what's happening over on X. Well, we got this going on from Onyx Coin XCN. The number of staked XCN continues to rise. There's now 5.5 billion plus tokens staked on the official Onyx app. Get started staking, baby. Get a piece of the pie, not financial advice, but the staked XCN continues to climb. Very, very bullish. Let's hop into a clip here from Pomp. Actually, what do we have here? Oh, man, I'm here. Super wet out this morning. I'll do my push-ups when I get to my other job. There you go. DH, what's going on the daily? If we don't break 95K, we are putting in a bear flag, correct? On the daily? Possibly. Yeah, possibly. I see where you're going with it. Possibly. Right then, keep your secrets. Keep your secrets. Jared, little bloody today, no surprise. Healthy correction, little shake up before we break out. Maybe. We got to see where we put in this close today. We want to make sure we're putting in a higher low than right here, right? That's what we want to watch. Oh, you guys can't see it, but higher low than that 84,675. We got to close higher than that. Danny dropping that cheddar. Very, very little super chats lately, guys. Would a bearish drop rejection at 90K invalidate the head and shoulders pattern? No, not yet. Anyway, not yet. Not quite yet. Okay, so let's get into this clip here from Mr. Pomp. It says all eyes are on who will be the next Fed chair.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there is wild speculation going on. Who's going to be the next Federal Reserve chairman? All of finance is paying attention to this. It's essentially become a finance soap opera. There's a period of time where the president, he was threatening to fire Jerome Powell. Tweets, interviews, every single day. Then we saw the administration pressuring the Fed into cutting rates more aggressively. Then out of nowhere, the housing director, Bill Pulte, he found reported mortgage fraud emanating from one of the Fed governors. That led to a huge legal dispute on whether the president could actually fire the governor or not. And most recently, Stephen Myron replaced Adriana Kugler on the Fed's Board of Governors. Kugler's going back to academic life, and that opened up a seat for Trump to put a nominee in there. This type of chaos, it's relatively unprecedented for America's central bank. But the entire Trump administration, it's been relatively unprecedented. My take is that maybe the chaos is actually part of the strategy. But this brings us to one big question. Who will be the next Fed chairman? Well, we won't know until the official announcement. President Trump seemed to give us a little hint, a little breadcrumb, a little cookie yesterday during a public appearance at the White House. Watch what he said here about Kevin Hassett and the Fed chairman speculation.
And I guess a potential Fed chair is here too. I don't know. Are we allowed to say that? Potential. He's a respected person, that I can tell you. Thank you, Kevin.
Now, it's not just Trump who's feeding into all this. Poly market odds, the prediction market, they have Kevin Hassett as the dominant favorite at 83% to be the next Fed chairman as well. So who exactly is Kevin Hassett? And do we think this is a good choice? Well, Kevin Hassett, he's a well-known supply-side economist. His policy views are focused on unleashing economic growth. That sounds good. He wants to unleash economic growth through tax cuts, deregulation, and accommodative monetary policy. A key component of his worldview is that we should prioritize growth over very strict inflation control. Many people, if you go and you ask them, they consider Hassett to be a pro-growth conservative. It's based on his argument that lower barriers to investment and production can actually raise wages, boost innovation, and enhance national security. Now, none of those seem like bad ideas. The question is, how do we get those outcomes? That's where the big debate and the controversy lies. Now, another aspect of Hassett's views, though, come from a book that he wrote in 2014. In that book, he discusses this idea of a 4% solution. That idea is a roadmap for sustained 4% GDP growth through tax certainty, spending restraint, and energy deregulation. Again, all of this sounds a lot like Ronald Reagan's supply-side ideas. Now, Hassett has been pushing this idea, this 4% solution, most recently, because he's arguing that booming consumption under Trump's policies actually signals lower income optimism. That's a big contrast to what he calls overstated Biden-era stagflation. Now, so what exactly are Hassett's key policy positions? One, he wants to advocate for corporate and individual tax cuts because he wants to spur investment in wages. Second, he favors lower interest rates and faster cuts to stimulate borrowing, housing, and investment. Third, he wants to cut government spending and regulations to reduce deficits. He also wants to shift from an efficiency-driven globalism to secure supply chains via tariffs, friendshoring, and domestic incentives. He wants to have job creation via tax incentives, and he supports intervention for chronic unemployment, but he opposes expansive welfare. He also supports deregulation for digital assets, and lastly, he views crypto as enhancing competitiveness. All of that sounds exactly like what the people have voted for, what they want their central bank to be doing. Now, another interesting data point on Kevin Hassett, this was pointed out by Opening Bell's Phil Rosen, is that Hassett is a former Coinbase advisor, and he still reportedly holds a sizable stake in the cryptocurrency exchange, something like $1 million or so. So you got a guy who likes crypto. The crypto people like that. And we've got Trump who's fanning the flames of speculation. We have Kevin Hassett leaning into the supply side economic policies, and we have market participants that are salivating over the idea of a new Fed chairman who would bring interest rates down and drive more growth in asset prices. Now, of course, it's all speculation. It ain't over until the fat lady sings. But what I say bring on Mr. Hassett and let him bring back some common sense to the central bank.
Got to agree, guys. Got to agree. Boom. Candyman, what's happening? I sent my son to his room for saying that Jim Morrison was a terrible musician. Sorry, but we do not slam the doors in this house. Super chats were liquidated. Sounds good, Rob. I sent you a direct message. Hope to hear from you soon. God bless. Absolutely. AF, happy Thursday, Brother Rob, and the Crypto Fam. Hope your head and shoulders thought will work, brother. Hey, there you go. Jared, he's going to slash and dash. There you go. Smash them like, says Ray Ray. Can I get an amen to that? What else do we have happening over on X? So Hara had shared this. We're pleased to announce our joint venture with Life Support Co., another partnership for the Node business, leveraging the resources of this company, which has a strong network with small to medium-sized enterprise owners. We will further expand on our distributed environment. Very, very nice. Another new partnership for Janction. You love to see that, guys. And of course, here is none other than friend of the channel, Neo Extrix, Neo Sun, to share his thoughts on the latest on Jasmy.
The mission is to create a unified digital infrastructure where blockchain, artificial intelligence, and decentralized technologies interconnect to automate, secure, and optimize all interactions between the physical and digital worlds. The growing adoption of second-layer solutions has profoundly transformed the ecosystem by making transactions significantly faster and far less expensive, accelerating the integration of new Web3 use cases, such as NFTs, DAOs, DePIN networks, and regenerative finance. All these components are converging to form a hybrid economy capable of connecting digital services, real-world infrastructures, and new governance models. The fusion of blockchain with advanced AI models paves the way for autonomous and truly decentralized management. Smart contracts enhanced by language models, RAG architectures, retrieval augmented generation, a system that allows AI to query databases to produce more reliable answers. And intelligent agents are becoming able to analyze, decide, and execute complex processes that once required human expertise. This automation strengthens transparency, improves decision accuracy, and increases system reliability across sectors such as finance, logistics, healthcare, energy, real estate, and public administration. Risk assessment is undergoing a profound transformation thanks to AI, which enables instant creditworthiness analysis, continuous regulatory compliance monitoring, and proactive anomaly detection. This approach dramatically reduces error margins while providing reinforced security for users and institutions. On the technical level, the deployment of a base layer compatible with the EVM, followed by a transition or interconnection strategy with an existing layer 2, establishes a flexible infrastructure capable of supporting strong growth. Smart contracts then automate business processes, such as supply chain tracking, programmed execution of contractual obligations, and the tokenization of financial flows, delivering faster, more reliable, and less error-prone management. This infrastructure also enables the creation of a complete traceability system, ensuring continuous visibility from raw material sourcing to the final product. Interoperability between blockchains is supported by specialized protocols such as Layer 0, while the integration of IoT devices and DePIN networks provides real-time monitoring through a distributed architecture. Cross-chain bridges rely on technologies such as OFT, Omni-Chain Fungible Token, fungible tokens that natively operate across multiple blockchains, ONFT, Omni-Chain NFT, interoperable NFTs that move seamlessly between chains, and CCTP, Circle Cross-Chain Transfer Protocol, a protocol enabling the transfer of assets like USDC across blockchains without traditional bridges, ensuring smooth circulation of data and value between ecosystems. Next-generation decentralized applications now integrate artificial intelligence at their core. Smart contracts can connect directly to language models, use RAG mechanisms to enrich contextual data, and deploy autonomous agents capable of learning and acting independently. Finally, the use of zero-knowledge proofs makes it possible to combine confidentiality and auditability through ZK rollups and cryptographic mechanisms that guarantee transaction integrity without exposing sensitive information.
It's going to be hilarious for Janction and Jasmy in the future, guys, because similar to what happened with ZBEC, right? Everyone was calling it a scam. They were calling it a rug. They were calling it this, that, and the other thing because it wasn't doing what they wanted it to do when they wanted it to do it. And it ended up now all of those people look like complete fools for saying that about ZBEC and that they missed the boat on it. Same thing will happen with Jasmy and or Janction, guys. It might not look good right now, but mainnet's launching. Everything, the documentary's coming out. Everything's going according to plan. It's going to be huge in the future, guys, and everyone who was calling it a scam and missing out on it and stuff like that, they'll start piling into it down the road. Ethereum Treasury holdings plunge 80% as trade unwinds. Bitwise issues a warning. The outlook has abruptly changed. The optimism for replicating the success of the Bitcoin Treasury strategy in Ethereum's ecosystem is gone. When companies began acquiring Ethereum for their balance sheets, investors hoped the popularity of this trade would spread to the second largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization. However, the early euphoria has given way to a brutal correction. The volume of ethers purchased by digital asset companies for their corporate treasuries plummeted by an impressive 81%, falling from its August peak of 1.97 million Ethereum to 370,000 in November, according to Bitwise data. This collapse of ether purchases by companies signals the unwinding of what many consider the alt-season version of this cycle. Max Shannon, senior researcher associated at Bitwise, explained that this is a familiar pattern. Treasuries were this cycle's version of an alt-season. And the same pattern is now playing out similar to previous cycles. As more alternatives emerge, the same pool of capital cannot sustain demand. This setback is putting the structural support for the price of Ether at risk. Although monthly purchases, 370,000 Ethereum, still exceed the new constant supply, so more is being purchased in a month than is being created, 370,000 Ethereum being scooped up every month, but only 80,000 being created. The gap is quickly narrowing. However, this pressure is already visible in the falling of the MNAV, the market cap to net asset value multiple, indicating lower confidence. The Bitcoin treasury trade, like the Ethereum segment, is monopolized by one main player, Bitmine. This miner, now converted into an Ethereum treasury, holds over 3.73 million Ethereum valued at nearly $13 billion, a figure that is 4 times greater than that of its nearest competitor, SharpLink Gaming. In fact, its miners' stockpile is larger than all other 68 Ethereum treasury companies combined. Bitmine's supremacy is forcing a winner-take-most scenario. Shannon anticipates that this concentration will accelerate as the largest treasuries backed by deeper capital markets are better positioned to raise funds and accumulate more Ethereum. The outlook is not clear for smaller treasuries. Without the same access to capital, they cannot acquire more Ethereum, which limits their ability to attract external capital. Their premiums compress, making capital raising more dilutive. Ultimately, the collapse of the Ethereum purchases by companies is pushing these minor players towards a death spiral, forcing them to adopt a more reflexive behavior. So basically, these companies are not able to purchase anywhere near as much Ethereum to add to their treasuries as they were in the past, right? However, again, there is still more Ethereum being purchased every month and taken off of the markets than there is being produced. So it is still very, very deflationary at this point in time in that aspect, right? Which one is better, if the head and shoulders happens or if it doesn't? Well, that's a matter of perspective, right? Me personally, I'm kind of at a point right now where I kind of want prices to go down a bit so I can scoop more up. That's just where I'm sitting right now. But some people want things to go up. Danny says, I'm solid on Jasmine, still have FOMO, not having enough. There you go, exactly. Sorry I'm late to the party, but have you spoken about the 20-ish billion coin ticket? No, that's not on the docket for today. Candyman says, because it's slow today, a police officer came to my house and asked me where I was between 5 and 6. He seemed irritated when I answered kindergarten. Nice. Smart ass. Jesse, what's up, man? Hey, Rob. I'm in a long and ADA right now. Please do not discuss Patreon trades on the YouTube channel. You will not get an answer from me on YouTube about Patreon-only content. Rob, I'm going to need some crystal ball action. Exactly what day and time are we going to pump? Also, why are you talking so much? Just look at the camera. Just look pretty, okay? Come on. All right, what else do we have in the docket today? Oh, we got this from Good Morning Maria. What do we got? The CFTC just announced a new government-backed Bitcoin and crypto trading platform.
Crypto goes mainstream. The Commodities Futures Trading Commission announcing the launch of the first government-supervised crypto trading platform. It allows Americans to instantly buy, sell, and finance digital assets. Fox Business's Darren Botello, live in Washington with all the details. Darren, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Maria. Of course, right now, as we all know, you can buy and sell crypto online already, but this is the first time, like you said, a spot trading platform is getting the full backing of the federal government. So why does this even matter to investors that the CFTC is backing this new Bitnomial platform? These other platforms are legally operating, but here's the catch, Maria. They're often called the Wild West. Basically, it's buyer beware. We've seen this with the collapse of FTX and customers eventually losing out on huge profits they would have had their money stayed safe in the market. They would have had it. Now with this Bitnomial platform, there are stricter standards for transparency, security, and consumer protection to prevent an FTX-style collapse. We spoke exclusively with acting CFTC Chairman Caroline Pham ahead of this new platform going live.
Not only do we want Americans to come back home and to be trading here, where they know that they have the protections that they deserve. But again, that means that American companies that are involved in the crypto industry, they're going to want to build here. They're going to want to invest here. They're going to want to hire here. So this is overall a net benefit to the economy.
And Bitnomial tells us ahead of their announcement, the actual launch of the platform is set for next week. Maria?
Guys, due to all this adoption and everything that's happening when it comes to crypto, I'm telling you right now, in 10 years, there's going to be two types of people that were in crypto today. Those that made true life-changing wealth for themselves, just like in the stock market back in the late 90s, right? And those who were emotional and made stupid decisions. They were online posting toxic comments, pointing fingers, having temper tantrums, blaming people, and eventually faded out of the crypto market, right? Those people will be there too 10 years from now, looking back going, why couldn't I just buy good, solid projects, shut my mouth, and wait for them to mature? Now I'm in the same position financially I was in 10 years ago, living paycheck to paycheck, instead of being, having life-changing wealth, had I just not behaved in an emotional manner when it comes to crypto. Those are the two types of people that are going to be in 10 years from now. There's a lot of people today who look back at the stock market in the early 90s who say that very thing right now. Why couldn't I just put some money into it and shut my mouth? Why couldn't I do that, right? And I'm telling you right now, 10 years now, you won't remember all the negative emotions you were feeling. You won't remember all the stupid, toxic comments you were posting online, but you will remember you were in crypto and you made a stupid decision. That's what you'll remember, right? So don't be that guy, right? Rob, I need some. Oh, I read that already. Oops, sorry, didn't know. I demand that job only takes. Yes. It's going to be crazy when the Clarity Act goes through. Q2 is where I'm going to look at this point. I'm not going to be looking back saying, man, I wish I had just gotten in. Exactly. I mean, even right now, guys, even right now, me, myself, looking back at 2011, right? Even me looking back, I say, what was I doing? Why didn't I just put even just a few $100s into Bitcoin when it first was a thing? Why didn't I do that? I heard about it, right? Why didn't I do it? I don't know. I don't remember what I did with that few $100s either, right? But so there's going to be people 10 years from now saying the same thing that I'm saying right now about Bitcoin when it first came out. Why didn't I just put a few $100s into it? A few $100s into it back then would have made me probably close to a billionaire by now, right? So don't be that guy. That's all I'm saying. Not financial advice. Ramona's in the house. Everyone, please hit the like and subscribe. Yes, absolutely. And she says, hey, Candyman, that was supposed to say, my bad, bro. Don't talk and text. There you go. Okay, what do we got? Lark Davis says Trump just hinted that Kevin Hassett would be the next Fed chair.
President Trump just signaled that Kevin Hassett will be the next Fed chair. He didn't say that guy's gonna be the Fed chair. He says like, oh, the new Fed chair is in the room with us right now. And of course, the only guy who is there is Kevin. So, and other people too, you know. Ted Cruz, you're the next Fed chair. That would be hilarious. Sight bringer, he says. Trump floating Hassett is a message to the markets, not a decision. He's testing how markets react to an easier growth first, liquidity-friendly Fed. The instant repricing you see on Kalshi and Poly market is exactly the reaction they wanted. Lower future rate expectations, higher liquidity assumptions, easier macro pass, stronger risk asset bid, crypto as a leading signal. This is interesting. That's what we've been talking about with the new Fed chair coming in. Of course, Trump's going to select somebody who is super friendly to his agenda, which is getting rates down to 1%. Hassett's the guy, and Hassett's the crypto guy too. He was on the board over at Coinbase. He goes on, deeper truth, this is the beginning of the Fed being politically re-anchored. Every administration tries to influence the Fed. Almost none do it this publicly. But the moment a president pressures the Fed on national TV with a preferred ideological profile, the independence narrative cracks. Once the political layer asserts directional pressure, the Fed becomes more cautious, more dovish, more reactive, more responsive to executive preference. The Fed does not have to be replaced. It only has to be leaned on. Why crypto instantly replaced Bitcoin's purest beneficiary, politically softened Fed. Crypto sits the intersection of liquidity, distrust, institutional monetary expansion, global coordination, anti-fragile reserve formation. The real macro catalyst, not shares, the shift from technocratic monetary policy to politically narrative-driven monetary policy. Once the president shapes expectations in real time, the market begins pricing policy as reflexive, narrative-driven, politically guided, less dependent on data. That environment's extremely bullish for Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, and infrastructure and high beta assets like data centers, and deeply dangerous for long-dated treasuries, dollar dominance, and global monetary neutrality. This is the early stage of a world where Bitcoin replaces the Fed as the primary credibility anchor for global monetary belief. That's the kind of hopium shit I need to hear today, man. Let's go.
You know who else is deep into the data center narrative, guys? None other than Janction. That's right, Jasmy and Janction. Hoping my quant can catch popularity. Oh, it will. Quant will do fantastic, man. William says 95% of people who bought Bitcoin for 10 cents sold it when it hit $1. Yep, exactly. 100% agree with that. Because they didn't have the patience, right? Didn't have the patience. Record outflows on Solana ETFs. 21 shares TSOL crypto ETF loses 42 million in record time. While Bitcoin is leading a new rally, Solana sends a much more puzzling signal. Capital is exiting the ETFs, but continues to flow on the blockchain. On one side, 21 shares sees TSOL crypto ETF loses 42 million, and on the other, over 321 million redeployed directly on chain on Solana. An apparent contradiction that says a lot about the real estate of the market. Solana ETFs managed to attract more capital while Bitcoin and Ethereum were experiencing heavy losses. However, this Wednesday, US Solana Spot ETF recorded their largest daily outflow since launch. In one session, nearly 32.2 million was withdrawn from these products, mostly from a single fund, the 21 shares TSOL crypto ETF, which lost $41.79 million. This is not an isolated accident. TSOL was already at the center of two other redemption waves since October 28th, with 13.55 million outflows on December 1st and 8.10 million on November 26th. In other words, every episode of distrust in Solana ETFs has the same product at its core. It's always 21 shares, nobody else. The contrast is striking. This outflow occurs amid a crypto rally led by Bitcoin. Instead of benefiting from the buying trend, Solana ETFs are moving against it, suggesting less widespread panic than a very targeted adjustment of the most speculative positions. For several market participants, this is not a true exit, but rather a simple reset after a long sequence of crypto inflows. After 3 weeks of sustained buying and high volatility in November, some managers are taking profits, rebalancing their portfolios and reducing implicit leverage. A key factor reinforces this interpretation. Competition is intensifying. On the same day as the TSOL bleeding, Franklin Templeton launched its own Solana ETF, SOEZ, Part of the rotation can thus be explained by arbitrage between products, with some investors preferring to diversify or test a new issuer deemed more institutional. While market conditions on crypto and ETFs remain far from the unbridled euphoria on crypto derivatives, positions remain net long but are significantly less aggressive than in October. Volatility is still present but more managed than endured. This type of configuration is typical of a market digesting a rally rather than disintegrating. This migration to on-chain occurs in a very particular context after a meme coin frenzy peak on-chain activity began to normalize. Activity addresses declined, volume stabilized, but circulating supply on exchanges decreases, and staking yields remain active. Less noise, more patient positions. On the stock market, Solana still stands around $142.75. $142.75. Sorry. The token gains about 1% for the day. The market, therefore, does not validate the idea of a total loss of confidence. It rather recognizes a tactical repositioning, with investors preferring to manage their risk directly on-chain rather than via a listed product. The most interesting paradox is here. While ETFs empty, the Solana blockchain fills. Over 321 million flowed onto the network in 1 month, including more than 240 million from Ethereum. Large capital does not leave the ecosystem, it only changes channels. So what we talked about yesterday also was the fact that we were seeing a lot of capital flow out of Ethereum's USDT stablecoin and into Solana's USDC Circle stablecoin, right? That's probably part of it as well, as we're seeing a lot of capital rotate from the Ethereum network on chain to the Solana network. So if a head and shoulders happens, we go down for around 4 to 6 months. Then, yeah, potentially, yeah. My guy, ZBCN, man, what's happening, man? Got people showing up in the ZBEC community, DMs pushing that skin. Yeah, I know. I got to do some looking into that coin. I don't know why they're doing that all of a sudden, but I got to figure out what this coin is all about. I have zero interest in it, but I agree with everything you're saying about it online there, man, over on X. Good afternoon, everyone. Lord of the Realm in the hizzy. What's happening, brother? All right, what else do we have? Speaking of Solana, let's go over to Squawk Box there. We have a little bit of a clip from Anthony Scaramucci on crypto investing beyond Bitcoin, talking Solana.
Investors looking to expand beyond Bitcoin. There's a new book coming out next week, Solana Rising.
Oh, I don't know why it's buffering. Let me. Now I'm gonna run it. That's gonna run an ad. So we're gonna have to wait 14 seconds. Do you got 14 seconds to spare? I don't know if you do. Everyone wants instant gratification these days. So who knows? People may lose their minds. All right, and we're good.
And beyond Bitcoin, there's a new book coming out next week, Solana Rising, Investing in the Fast Lane of Crypto. Breaks down the blockchain, the major players behind it, and how it can be integrated into a crypto portfolio. And joining us now is the author, Anthony Scaramucci, Skybridge Capital founder and co-managing partner. Good to have you on, Anthony.
So you read that the way my mom wrote it, Joe.
Yeah,
I appreciate
exactly.
it.
She's a wonderful lady. We're all cutting our teeth together. Maybe not you. You've got a good firm grasp enough to write a book about Solana. But let's start right at the beginning. Similar to Ethereum, it's a blockchain, and it can be the backbone of a lot of really quick transactions in DeFi.
Yeah, well,
And other
a lot
things,
like the
games, all
discussion that you were having earlier today with David and Bob. I mean, there's going to be layer one technology. Not to bore people at home. Ethereum is a layer one technology. Hyperlink, Hyperliquid would be one as well. And I think all we're saying is that you'll be able to put a smart contract or a security, formerly known as a security, and tokenize it. And you'll be able to use the rail system of the blockchain, one of these, I think Solana will be one of the big winners. It's not to say that the others are not also going to win. I believe they can cohabitate with each other. And the analogy I would use for people at home is a little bit like the cloud. When we started using cloud computing about 20 years ago, people were reluctant to use it, and then they understood there was great safety and anonymity in the storage, and then it proliferated, and you have many cloud vendors, and I think that's going to be the case in this world of tokenization. But this particular token has very unique properties. It's very cheap to use.
Very cheap.
It's incredibly
Fractions
fast.
of a cent.
Yeah,
50,000 transactions. Many more transactions.
Many more transactions. And Anatoly.
Not as many nodes though, right?
Well, it's proliferating now. I mean, again, this is sort of the same conversation that we'd be having about the internet. And I was watching earlier, I think it was Paul was bringing it up about how, you're in the Netscape zone on your way to Google and eventually into Facebook. And I think that's where we are. We're very, very early. So just imagine 4 or 5 years from now, will there be a rail system on the blockchain where we are tokenizing things? And so I believe the answer to that is yes. Things like Avalanche, things like Solana, Hype would be one of those as well.
It's cheaper than Ethereum, and it's got two types of proof. It's got proof of stake and a proof of history with like a timestamp. So you don't even have to. It's much faster. I mean, much faster.
It's much faster,
milliseconds versus
and great finality, great certainty. And I think the big news now is you do have a regulatory regime under Paul Atkins and President Trump that are favoring the technology and are going to allow for this. And I think it's very transformative. Remember, you and I are old enough to remember T+5, Joe. When I started in the business, you didn't settle your securities into your account for 5 days. It's T+1 now. This could be T plus an hour or so, maybe less than that, but I think that's what they'll eventually get to.
And Anthony, I think crypto has certainly benefited from this administration's view and interest in crypto, all things crypto, it seems like. But today, President Trump is going to roll back, we suspect, the emissions standards that were under the Obama administration and then the Biden administration placed on the auto manufacturers. Do you think that if there is a different administration down the road, it could roll back anything that's been done here? And what would that mean for the industry? Or once this is out and kind of beyond a fledgling state, is it too late to stop it?
First of all, it's a great question because that's the central thesis. If you said to me right now, what would I be worried about in the future is this sort of regulatory pendulum that's going back and forth in Washington. I would really like to see this industry and other industries have Washington take a post-partisan or more transformative approach. And I will applaud David Sachs for that, because I think David, when he put out that executive order earlier in the year, he was trying to construct it in a way that would make it bipartisan, Becky. Right. And I think that
that's the worst thing for businesses to say.
Yeah, we shouldn't have left or right regulation. We should have right or wrong regulation, and it should be transparent and safe to use and fair to the customer. And I'm hoping we can get younger Democrats to the table on that. There's a partisan divide, and it's a very good point that you're bringing up.
Okay, front page New York Times today. Trump's AI and crypto czar benefits himself and allies. And you are no fan of we've had our disagreements in the past about the president. Yeah, we have. So you're not going to be someone that I think would sugarcoat things. In anything you've seen with the president and his family and their conflicts and dealing in crypto and the businesses that they've set up, has anything really raised your eyebrow, or David Sachs, or anything? Is anything really raised your eyebrow in terms of impropriety?
We've been at odds. Some of it is more style related.
How about for this, though?
But let's talk about this.
Yeah.
So I'm friends with Eric Trump. I think you know that. He came to my conference.
We all have the same birthday.
We all have the same birthday. My son,
January 6th.
My son was very involved. My son, AJ, was very involved in helping him raise money for American Bitcoin. I own American Bitcoin, so I just want to make sure that that's fully disclosed here. And so, no, I don't see that. I think that is a partisan thing. As it relates to David Sachs, I read the article, and I would just submit back to people rhetorically, you want people like David Sachs in the administration, whether it's a Democratic administration or a Republican administration. And guess what? David Sachs is going to be a visionary and an entrepreneur and do a lot of business-related things. And I think you don't want to overly stop those people. I don't think you just want bureaucrats, lawyers, and academics in Washington, because they have very little business interests outside of Washington. And so So that's me. I'm a huge fan of David Sachs. I think he's done a great job. And I think the criticisms in that article are unfair. So, maybe we agree on that, maybe we don't, but that's my approach.
No,
to
I
it.
was just asking.
And I want to encourage people like David Sachs to go into government because we need those types of people in government.
All right. So back to Solana. If someone, obviously Bitcoin is 92,000, you can buy any amount of Bitcoin. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin, obviously. But if someone wants to get into crypto, you think if you're comfortable with Bitcoin, that Solana would be a good investment where it is right now? It's at about 141.
Yeah, I think Solana, Bitcoin,
Ethereum,
Avalanche.
Or
I own
less
less.
so.
We own Ethereum, but we own less of it. But I like the whole area because this is taking off. Listen, we're old enough. Alta Vista, Ask Jeeves. We had AOL Search. Okay, they got big footed by Google. But this is mature enough now where there will be 3 or 4 players that emerge in the next 5 years that are going to be industry standards. I believe Solana is one of those. The other ones that I mentioned are likely one of those. But I explain in the book why the technical properties associated with Solana, I think, are quite favorable. And I'll leave you with this thought. When Anatoly created Solana, he didn't try to create new things from a computer science point of view. He used all the available tech that was out there to make it easy for developers to run programs on top of Solana. And so for me, it's one of our big names. We own a lot of it, frankly. I have a lot of it on the Skybridge balance sheet. And so I wrote a book about it because I want to also explain this stuff to our customers. And when I made the investment in Bitcoin 5 years ago, traditional finance people excoriated me. Some of the wirehouses
for you.
Yeah, you were before me, but I got in there with, in size at an institutional level.
Well, yeah, you got it in size. That's the difference.
I got excoriated by a lot of people in traditional finance, and now they're coming. And I'm just saying, this is 5 years ago, we said Bitcoin. I believe 5 years from now, Joe, if we're fortunate enough to be sitting at this table again, we'll be looking back on Solana and say that was a good entry point because we're using Solana.
I saw a funny meme on Twitter. It had a picture of someone frustrated, and it's, I've been in Ethereum at 3,000 for 4 years or something like that. I mean, it has not been like...
You have a lot of fear and uncertainty and doubt in this industry. And so something like Ethereum that has really good technical properties could lag for several years. But again, let's go back early stages of tech in our lifetimes. Amazon went public in May of 1997 and had lots of hiccups, down 50%. You remember the March 2000 debacle, it was down 80 or 90% at that time. And the point is, as things are adopting and scaling, if they are good fundamentally, you should hold them, which is why we never left our Bitcoin thesis, despite the
speed of Solana and the it's much cheaper. That for you overcomes. It's not as distributed as Ethereum,
but it's becoming more distributed. Okay. It's growing the scale of its distribution.
So then it would have no negatives versus Ethereum.
Listen, I think that people will want some customization. If you go to the big chief technology officers at the Fortune 50, they may go to they may be on Avalanche because you have the subnets on Avalanche that can allow for more customization. But I'm talking about broad scale delivery of tokenization. Somebody like a BlackRock, somebody thinking about tokenizing stocks and bonds or potentially real world assets, I think they'll use something like Solana. It's bigger, it's faster, and it has way more market share, and it's growing faster than the others.
As you guys know, I am very bullish on the Solana ecosystem. We're seeing a lot of great projects that are starting to launch inside the Solana ecosystem, like Zbeck, for example. And it's only going to continue to get better. So yes, very bullish on Solana's ecosystem for the future, guys. Absolutely. What do we got? Got 2 more people into crypto, and I just got to get them to the Patreon. Yes, tell them it's 50% off for new Patreon members right now. It's only once a year. We only do that deal once a year at Christmas time. No other time of the year do we do any kind of discount. So absolutely, tell them don't miss it. I'm terribly late. Can't do push-ups today, but I can do 50 minutes of sit-downs. It's a me, Mario. 50 push-ups, man. What's can't? Sparky, thank you so much for sharing the stream, my friend. Absolutely fantastic. Volks, what's up, brother? Hate the new YouTube update. It doesn't show how long lives have been broadcasting. Oh, yeah. We've been going for over an hour. Over an hour, compadre. So Bitcoin trying to get back above 92,000 here. Can we get above and close above later today? The goal is to get above the 30-day moving average right here. We've rejected off it twice now in the daily time frame. And we want to continue to put in higher lows as well. So we'll see what happens. But for now, guys, I got some one-on-one coaching calls I got to do over on the Patreon. Get over there. Book your calls today. Guys, it's 50% off. It's only once a year that we do this deal. That's it. Then it's done for another 12 months. So lock it in. Get over there. The link is in the chat. It's in the pinned comments. It's in the description. Check it out today. Book your coaching calls over there. Join our live streams and so much more. And as Ramona says, follow me on TikTok as well. Crypto Future Now. Let's go. Thank you so much, Ramona. I appreciate you. So yeah, guys, check all that out. Also follow us on Rumble, on X, and everything in between. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. I'll see you guys later today. God bless. Oh, also follow us on Facebook, right? Facebook, and soon Instagram. All right. I'll see you guys later. God bless.